Welcome to the guest lounge on the Willie J Show on Gospel City 24/7. Be entertained, informed, and edified on Saturday morning's talk radio show, the Willie J Show on Gospel City 24/7. And now, and now, and now, with today's guest, here is the man himself, Mr. Willie J.
Welcome everyone once more to the Willie J Show right here on Gospel City 24/7. And each Saturday morning at this time, we have a very interesting guest for you. And this morning is the same as usual. We have a very interesting person here. His name is Spenser, and a gentleman who puts out some very interesting music. If you have not heard him as yet, then you will hear him today, because we will be talking to him, and apart from that, we'll be playing some of his music as well. So stay tuned. Welcome to the program, Ian. So good to have you.
Thanks, Willie J. Thank you so much, and thank you. Greetings to your listeners. It's just a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to share about the stories behind the songs, and hopefully to encourage persons who listen.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for coming on. And we want to start off from what I would call the very beginning, from way back in the days of childhood. And could you tell us a bit about life as a child growing up in Jamaica? What was it like?
Sure. It's actually ironic, maybe, that you asked that question, because I'm actually in at my parents' home in Manchester.
Okay.
And as I was walking up, I was looking down the stairs, which kind of used to be my echo chamber. So what I'd do is, when I was young, is I'd close up all the doors, and then, once you clap, you hear an echo, and it sounds like the reverb or the delay function on the mixing boards.
Yes.
And I was always fascinated by sound. I grew up in a pastor's house. Father is Reverend Irvin Spenser, my mother Barbara Spenser.
Yes.
And my introduction to singing, I think, pretty much was the same as most persons who grew up in church. They have to sing for the grandparents or the aunts and uncles. Mine was more the grandparents. It wasn't forced, but that is what I remember when I think back to when I first sung outside of my house. I remember being in one of my grandmother's homes, and she happened to be a pastor as well, Mercy May Spenser.
Okay.
So that was my introduction to singing. I have a cousin who pretty much I watched how he developed in music. He played the guitar for his church, Olivet Open Bible.
Okay.
And I wanted to play as well, so developed that interest in the guitar. My father played the guitar as well, so and my mother sang. So I just really tried to emulate my cousin.
Okay.
And then he went to the keyboard, but the keyboard has never worked out for me. I'm still on the guitar and singing, which is fine. It's how the Lord has used me. So
Yes.
Interestingly I never really sang in high school. I was more interested in football, so played a lot of football, represented my
Okay.
school.
Yes.
And probably sang one devotions, and kind of got a hint that maybe I could hold a note. Went to college, and then I joined a group, a group of persons who sang. It was four of us, and we sang at Knox Community College. And from there, I started to focus a little bit more on music. The truth is, though, while I was in high school, I was what I'd call a closet singer.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I was actually singing at church, but never really sang at school.
Okay.
At school, I was Ian the footballer.
Yes. Yes.
And those who knew me closely knew that I had an affinity and a love for singing and music. So Mahalia Jackson, a lot of the old singers. I grew up in a time of LPs and CDs.
Yes. LPs and cassettes and all of those things, and reel to
50
reel.
minute, 60 minute. Yes, man. And if the tape bursts, I mean, some of the young people who listen might not have a clue. Even old people might not have a clue.
Yes,
These cassette tapes go through.
Yes, splice
so
it.
You have a draft, you have sellotape,
Yes.
and cut it and piece it back together, and you sing. How sweet the song is, because part of the song get cut off.
Yes. Well, in the studios, especially when I did radio, they had a way of splicing the tapes that it wouldn't show that a piece was missing or that it had broken.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes,
wow.
yes. When they are doing the recordings in the studios, they had a way of splicing it, man. That was super.
Yeah, so that was pretty much where I started singing. I really started singing in church, so rallies, special items. That's where I'd sing, because when I was coming up, this idea of praise and worship was never really a thing. It really was more you sing some lively choruses, or you sing some hymns and favorite songs. It was a lot more sort of organic than it is now. In churches we have a section called praise and worship, which is fine.
Yes.
But it was different. It was different, and I benefited from the difference, because you learn a lot of songs without looking at the projector for words and so on.
Yes, yes.
And you kind of had to be quicker on your feet when you're called to sing, because you have to know the words, right?
Yes, yes.
But I'm thankful for how technology has helped us, and I'm thankful for how, through serving, the Lord has just brought out different aspects of the music ministry.
Yes.
Through me, I started out, as I mentioned, playing guitar and singing, and then sometimes you sing and you get frustrated because you want to sound like other people and you want to sound
indeed.
good. You don't like your own voice. I went through all of those stages, and it was really through serving and through understanding that the serving was more important than the gift, or how great you thought your gift was.
Yes.
If you remember the story of the man with the talents, there was nothing wrong with the fact that he got one.
No.
The issue was that he never did anything.
Yes, indeed.
And so I have learned. I would not, sitting here now in the house I grew up in, I would not have thought that I would have written songs. It was not really, it was, all I was trying to do was to be a good guitarist. And even now I would never say I'm a great guitarist, but I'm much better than I was.
But you sound really
I
good
am
on the albums, man.
boy.
Whatever
But
do it was you
that is to
played.
the glory of God. That's to the glory of God. And I mean, I'm not the only guitarist on the album, so
Okay.
I did get the help where I needed from some super guitars.
Okay.
So
Okay.
but the point I was really wanting to hammer home to your listeners is when you purpose to serve the Lord, um, even if your gift is not one that is sort of the upfront gift things like preaching or singing,
Yes.
you would be surprised to see what the Lord does with the gift once you surrender to Him, and how far you're able to use it, and how you're even able to use it outside of the walls of the church,
Yes, that's so true.
you know. And because there's still a lot that is untapped, where Christian musicians are concerned in terms of getting the message of the truth of the gospel out, right? And you see that in some of the songs from my album. There's another incredible thing.
Uh-huh.
I did not think I would record an album. I'd actually given up on that,
Okay.
but here we are. I just released a 14-track album, 13 songs with one song, an extended version.
Yes.
But the songs cut across several themes. The album is called "Great Is Your Love" and it's available on every platform, right?
Yes.
And the songs are they're songs for worship, they're songs of redemption, they're songs of encouragement, and they're songs that just speak to some of the issues that societies face all over the world.
Yes.
And every single aspect of life is represented in the scriptures. And when I go tying this back to serving, one of the things that got me to write songs was I couldn't find songs that I really wanted to sing.
Okay. Yes.
Right? It's not that there weren't Christian songs out there or gospel songs out there.
Yes.
But when I was coming up, a lot of it was covers
Okay.
of songs that coming out of North America or Australia, right?
Yes.
Or just hymns. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is fine, right? Because those persons have built up a confidence in writing, and they've invested in maybe schools that teach they're the ones coming up, the people who are gifted in music to write and so on. But I was not exposed to that.
Yes.
I was not exposed to those kinds of things, and so like Christmas songs. One of the first songs that was released for me was a Christmas song. A couple of Christmas songs. One called "Because of You."
Yes,
so
that's
glad.
how I heard you first, on an album called
man.
"This Is How We Celebrate Christmas."
Right, Danny Brownie and the Yo. This is how it was, that one. It's one of the family to the Yo at the Yo series.
Yes.
But I always loved Christmas time. But as I got older, I was not able to connect with the message of some of these songs.
Yes.
Right, because it was usually Santa Claus.
Yes.
Yes. So as a baby, and no problem with Jesus as a baby. The story is fascinating, and it's a story of wonder and excitement.
Yes.
And it's a story of the fulfillment of prophecy, right? And studying that is a marvelous testament to God's faithfulness in bringing His word to pass. But on the level now of purpose and why He came, for Christmas, there aren't many songs that talk about why He came. And I just said, Lord, help me write some songs that actually focus on You and focus on the reality of You coming, You dying, and your resurrection and the implications that it has from man. Future, present and future, past, present, and future. So it's not that we're time warped and we're stuck in Jesus in Bethlehem. we serve a living God who is worthy of praise every day of the year, and is about saving the souls of people
Yes, yes.
for as long as He tarries. So, I that's how most of the songs that I've written have come about.
Okay,
I
yes.
have to sing at a funeral, and I don't have a funeral song. I try and write a
Right
song.
one, okay,
Uh,
yes. So you're
and
right
just to be
for the
clear,
occasions.
yeah, and just to be clear though, it is the Lord who empowers me to do it. I
Yes,
mean, and
sure, sure, yes.
I say that because I've come to know people who are just gifted to be able to just look at something and write a
Mm-hmm.
song or write a poem. I don't have that.
Okay,
Right. I have to let the word of God just stew in me for a while,
yes,
and then songs come out.
yes, yes.
Right.
Well,
So yeah. So that's a mouthful. I mean, you only asked one question, and I've been talking for so long.
well, I want to find out how did you really get. I have two questions, so let me ask this one. I want to ask you about a particular song, but first, this
Sure.
one. Um, how did you get connections to doing that Christmas album? How did it work out, being included on that Christmas album?
So I actually was away, and when I came back, I started attending Soulfield Chapel,
Okay, yes.
which turned out to be the same church that Danny Brownie was attending.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right, and I'd been serving on the worship team there, in the music ministry, but I was kind of just trying to settle in, and as I said, um, I had just started to write songs, right?
Yes.
Um,
Uh-huh.
for so those songs weren't the only songs that I wrote, but for Christmas I realized I didn't have any song that I
Yes.
felt
Uh-huh.
um, that I thought could represent Jamaica and that represented the gospel.
Yes. Yes.
So I said, all right. So I wrote 3 songs, and I shared them with Danny, and he heard them, and he happened to be doing that compilation album at the same time, and he was like, "Oh, I like these too." And
Okay. Yes.
and I think I remember my jaw dropped. I didn't believe him actually.
Uh-huh.
I was like, nah, all I'm gonna tell, I'm gonna call him back and say a foolishness, right? I mean, because I didn't see that as a possibility. And I really had only written them to just try and give me other options for songs to sing.
Yes.
And fast forward a few months later, and I heard it on the radio, and I mean, I had to contain myself. I
Yes.
had to contain myself. I mean, he had played it for me, and played what he had done in the studio, but just hearing it on the radio and just imagining
Yes.
the fact that if I had not
Written it.
just tried
Yes.
and just tried to find something useful to do with the gift that the Lord had given me,
And to
then
be
I would have missed that
original in
opportunity.
your writing
And
too. Yes, to
yeah, man,
write the message
absolutely,
that you felt the Lord wanted you to write.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
And people have told me that the songs, those particular songs, minister to them. In fact, there's a station that I know that plays the song in and out of Christmas Eve.
Okay, yes,
And I
yes,
find that so fascinating because that is the message of one of the songs,
yes, yes.
right? Is that actually it's the message of both of the songs, that is not locked to a day. Because I am cognizant of the fact that Christmas Day is a day that's chosen as the
Yes,
day that is celebrated.
yes,
And it is not likely the time or of year or the date of Jesus's birth. So I wanted, when I looked at the songs, to be able to say, all right, I am not telling people that the only day they must celebrate Jesus is December the 25th. And I think both songs that,
Yes.
represent that well, right? So
And
people recognize that he's to be worshipped every day, every
indeed,
moment.
indeed. And the story
Right,
of
right.
Christmas really affects us all year round. Though the world only
Exactly, exactly.
celebrate it once a year, but it affects us all
Right,
year
right.
round. Yes.
Absolutely,
And you
absolutely.
know what I'm going to do at the end of the interview? I'm going to play two of your songs, and one of them will be Because of You. You know,
Yeah.
stretch the Christmas
Okay.
into the February, or you know.
Of course, of course, of
Yes,
course.
man. Or I think when we hear this, it will be March. Yes, it will be the
Right.
first
Okay.
weekend in March. Yes. So,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
yes, I'm going to play that one, and I'll play this other one that I'm going to ask you about now. There's this one that
Mhm.
speaks about your life, pop down, pop down. You know, how did you come about with that one?
Oh, this is but God.
Yes, yes,
Yes, yes. So but God, you know, it, let me just say glory to God right here, right? And you know, maximum praise and respect to the Lord. I was going through the most difficult period in my life, and I felt like God had invested too much in me to give up and to just let my present circumstances be what define the rest of my life.
yes.
And so I sat with my pastor and I said, I have all these songs and I've sung some of them, but I just want to sit down and have a session where we sing the songs that the Lord has given me, and we create an environment where people can just minister to the Lord and worship the Lord to the song. So I'm gonna give you the summary of what happened. I started out with a bag of songs that I had,
Yes.
but maybe of all the songs that I had, when I started out saying when I had this meeting with my pastor, um, probably only two of those songs ended up being sung. What happened was, as I started to plan and as I started to just envision what the evening would look like, the Lord started to just give me songs left, right, and center.
Okay.
Right, and so I just started writing. Must have written like 10 or 11 songs over the period of 2 months. Right, and I accept no, that is not, that was just the Lord.
Yes.
And the Lord sent people to come alongside and learn the songs, and we had an evening of worship. But one of the things that I learned through the experience, right, and here's why but God is important.
Yes.
While I was building out the flow of the evening through the songs, and I recognized there's something that happens when we come to church that if we're not, it can happen, I should say. Jesus would also say he came to seek and to save that which was lost.
Yes.
Right? And there's a way that when non-believers come in and they see Christians engaged in worship, free in worship, and they look away and they know the moves and they know the culture, even though they may not be putting on a show.
Mm-hmm.
To
Yes.
the non-believer, sometimes the songs are not intimidating because
Yes.
they speak of persons who are on the journey, right? But if you listen to a song like Amazing Grace, how sweet the song that saved a wretch like me. The
Yes.
reason that song is very powerful is because it locates all of us
Yes.
at where we started out before we knew the Lord,
Yes.
right? And but God locates all of us at where we started out before we knew the Lord and after we know the Lord. Because it's not only when you become a Christian, it doesn't mean that you don't have problems or you don't make mistakes sometimes.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
wanted a song, given the atmosphere that I knew was that I envisioned would have been created. You know, I didn't want people to feel like they were closed out and they couldn't come in and they
Yes.
couldn't
Yes.
surrender their lives to the Lord. So, but God is saying, boy, the whole away. Everyone away, you see, I lift our hands up and I cry and I go on and I praise the Lord. We have a story that if Jesus never forgive our sin,
Yes.
he would have run from we,
Yes. Yes.
right? And our claim to righteousness is nothing but the blood of Jesus and through the sacrifice of Jesus. And so that is why, but with that what God song is there. It's a song of redemption. It's a song that invites those persons who don't know the Lord to come. Say, come and experience what we have experienced. Because we were going this way, but God. And if you look at the scriptures that talk about where but God is used, it's like, you are go down that road, it's such were some of you, such were, you are this, you are that, you are that.
Yeah.
But God, who is rich in mercy, right? And so that is the man, I'm getting excited about that song.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite songs on the album, to be honest with you, because it just lets people know.
Yes,
You can be changed. You can be changed through the power of the Lord, and it's a work of redemption, despite what your now looks like, despite what your past looks like. God can change and restore and redeem the life.
Yes, indeed.
And it is I'm a work in progress. In that whole situation right there.
Yes. It's actually one of my favorite on the album as well. You know.
Praise God.
Yes,
Praise God.
yes, and I love that little part when you said, "And your life was popped down and all that." Yes, man. Yes, yes. So, what do you have in the pipeline for the future as far as more music is concerned?
Man. Listen, to be honest with you, and perhaps this will serve as an encouragement to others who are listening. This album, Great Is Your Love, the songs are, people may listen to them and think that the songs were written recently, and only one or two of them were like everyday people and higher than mine. And when I say recently, I'm not talking about last year or the year before. It would have been 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
Right, but there are some songs that are 10 years old.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And as I mentioned to you before, I had given up on the dream of recording an album.
Yes.
But in between that time, I had to be faithful with what the Lord had given me. And I had to come out of the disappointment of people not necessarily saying, "Boy, this is a great album. These are great songs. This is a hit." And I had to hear people say, "Boy, people not going to listen to it. It's not going to be a hit." So I can't produce it, right? And I had to, yes. And so, I, through the encouragement of my friends and people who came and sponsored the album, God brought to pass what he envisioned for these songs. But before that, what I had started to do was to go to churches and share the song.
Okay, yeah.
And I said, you know what, Lord, I cannot come to you and tell you, because nobody ever want to record this song. They're not
singing it, yes.
So I'd sing songs at my church at Swallowfield Chapel, right? And just thankful for the leadership there, because they've been very encouraging. So I've continued I continued to write and continued to share the songs. And even before the album was recorded, there are people around who have earlier versions of these songs. Of my home studio recordings, because what I would do is I'd make home studio recordings with my little jump on software, right? And sing on the lyrics, and I'd send them out to people, and people would call me. Here's how the Lord tricky. The Lord, sometimes I'm there feeling sad that I had not reached anywhere with the music, or I hadn't fulfilled my dream.
Yes.
And people would call me and say, Ian, I was listening to this song, and that song I just have ministered to me. I just have it on repeat. Listen to me. It's not a song produced by any top producer. It's me, Ian, produced the song in my house from my little system, right?
Okay.
And I say all of that to say um, there are a bag of songs that are left to be heard. So my immediate plan is to continue to share the songs from this album, but pretty soon I figure I'm gonna have to transition to recording some of the other songs.
Yes, yes.
And you know, I'm also open to sharing songs with other persons so that they can sing them, because I don't know how I will get out all of the songs that I've written,
Okay,
because
yes.
there's so much meat in the Word of God, and so many ways that through trying to serve Him in music, that I've come up with a whole lot of songs that you know, I don't know if I'll be able to record all of them. So I'm hoping to share some creatively, you know, through other persons singing them. I'm gonna record some more and let some more. Oh, there are people who probably vex with me because of the songs that are. Well, I know there are people who are vexed with me
Yes.
because of the songs I chose for this album. I never choose the songs that them love.
Yes, yes.
So,
Yes, because as you
so
said, they already had an idea of some of the songs. So when they didn't hear certain songs on the album, they were disappointed.
Yeah. But you know, I really just want to pause to say thanks to the Lord, you know, and thanks to the people who have supported and purchased and listened. You know, and I really appreciate this opportunity that you provided to just share.
Well, this is where we leave our very interesting interview with Ian Spenser for this morning. But be sure to join us again next week when we will have part 2 of this very interesting interview. 24/7 day and night. 24/7 sleeping or awake. Gospel City. 24/7